Recording and welcome people to the April 26th meeting of the Oak Grove Community Council. Welcome to everyone. It's custom to introduce everyone who comes, but just before we do introductions, I'd just like to take a moment to see if there are newcomers, people who have not been to our meeting yet, so that we can be sure to introduce them. So I see Cindy, I'm going to invite you to unmute and introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Cindy Brown. I live at Rose Villa, and I'm the chair of the resident council there. I met with Valerie and I was very intrigued to hear about the work you guys are doing. Decided to come to the meeting and see for myself.
So welcome, we're glad you're here. Other newcomers, Vanessa, I think this might be your first meeting too. Would you like to unmute and introduce yourself?
Sure. Vanessa Dane Slagle. I live about 3/4 of a mile east of the Oak Grove Fred Meyer, and I learned about this council through the property lines on the Clackamas County website.
Great, welcome. We're really pleased to have you with us tonight.
Yeah, thanks.
Are there other newcomers that? Yes. Okay, let's go ahead and introduce the officers. I'm Valerie Chapman. I'm the chair of the Oak Grove Community Council. Mark?
Hi, my name is Mark Elliott. I'm vice chair of the council, and I live right off of Concord Road, just towards the river.
Jane.
Jane Civiletti, and I live on Fair Oaks Avenue. I am the treasurer.
Rich.
Hi, Rich Nippon. I am the secretary. I live 3 blocks south of the Fred Meyer.
And Joseph.
Hi, I'm Joseph Edge, and I am an at-large board member, and I live in the River Forest neighborhood.
Okay, so as your name is called, I invite you to give us, tell us where you live, just neighborhood or the street, however you want to do that. Pam.
Hi, I'm Pam Moran, and I live at Rose Villa.
Anita.
I'm Anita Blackmar. I live on Fair Oaks Avenue.
Officer Sarah McClurg.
Sarah McClurg, Clackamas County Sheriff's Office, Crime Prevention and Public Outreach.
Great, welcome. Craig.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Craig Van Valkenburg. I'm at Willamette View.
Welcome. Mary Oosterman.
Yes, I'm Mary Oosterman, and I'm also a member of or reside at Rose Villa. And I used to attend your meetings a few years ago, but I do keep tabs on you through the emails. Thank you.
Welcome back. Tom Hammond.
Tom and Jolene Hammond. We live on Viewcrest Drive, which is about 1.5 miles south of Freddy's.
Welcome. Marilyn.
I'm Marilyn Wall, and I live on Aldercrest at the Oakfield end.
Welcome. Heidi.
Yes, good afternoon or evening, Heidi Bullock. I am currently an Oak Lodge Water Services Authority board member, and I live in Jennings Lodge. I live on Hillside Drive.
Welcome. Gwen.
Hi, Lauren. Gwen, I live on Evergreen and 25th, near the trolley trail and near the MAX station.
Welcome. Pam? No, is that Pat calendar.
My name's Pat Callender and I live at Rosevilla.
Welcome. Carolyn? Carolyn Stuckey?
Carolyn Stuckey. I live on Southeast Chestnut Street.
Okay, welcome. Sue Conahan?
Sue Conahan, and I live on Parkview Circle.
Welcome. Paulina, or Paulina, sorry.
So I'm going to be presenting in Canada, but I also I actually live in Milwaukee. I live on 32nd Avenue.
Okay, your sound is a little scratchy, so I want to hold that in mind tonight before you present. What could others hear, Paulina? Well, no. Okay, so maybe speak up a little louder when you present tonight. I want to make sure that people can hear you. Dave.
Dave Toback, I live at Rosevilla.
Welcome. Baldwin?
I'm Baldwin Vanderbilt. I live on Neff Road, right almost next door to Stringfield Park.
Welcome. And iPhone, whoever iPhone is.
Hey, that's Bob. I think it's probably me. I'm trying to figure out why it's not putting my name down there once again. But anyway, I'm Bob Bohannon. I live on Southeast Laurie, just off of, actually right next to Rosevilla, practically.
Okay, well, welcome. Eleanor.
Hi, everyone. I'm Eleanor Hunter. I live on Laurie Avenue, and I'm staring out the window at a neighbor of mine who's been taking a huge branch down with a sawzall, and I'm so grateful to see him alive and climbing. It's just been terrifying for the last like half hour. So exciting news in the neighborhood. What can I say? Okay.
Marilyn Gottschall. Can't hear you. You're still muted. Okay.
Okay, Marilyn Gottschall. I live at Rosevilla.
Okay, great. Welcome. So I think we got everyone tonight. If you didn't get introduced, please speak up. We want to make sure that we get attendance. And looks like we had someone just come in. I don't know where that went. If there was someone new. Well,
Jane Coverly just came in.
Jane Coverly, did you say?
Yes.
Jane, do you want to unmute and introduce yourself? Just, hello and where you live, or near West. Oh, you're muted again.
I'm here from Rosevilla.
Welcome. We're glad to have you. Right. Let's move on to our officer reports tonight. Jane, do we have a treasurer's report?
We have an uneventful treasurer's report. We have, since the last meeting, no new donations. Our treasury balance stands at $1,886.19. Again, any donations you'd like to make can be made at any On Point Community Credit Union branch. They know who we are.
Thanks, Jane. And Jane is the person to contact for attendance if you come in late, or just to make sure that she knows that you're here.
Oh, and Valerie, someone else just came in. Jacob Fuller just came in.
Yeah, Jacob, do you want to unmute and introduce and say hello and tell us where you live? Jacob, are you there? You want to introduce yourself? Oh, all right. A nice picture though. Okay. Rich, do you have a secretary's report?
I do. I submitted it by email to everybody. Unless there's any changes, I would move that we accept it as reported.
The minutes from last meeting, is that? Were there any changes? All right, seeing no changes, then we'll accept them as they were presented. At our last board meeting, just quickly want to let people know that the board has been looking into creating a separate 501c3 Friends of Oak Grove Community Council so that there is a way they can raise funds for projects that the OGCC is interested in having. And also the board appointed Joseph Edge to chair the LUART committee and to respond to all LUART inquiries and email, and grateful that Joseph is very good at that and agreed to do that. So thank you, Joseph. I still have not seen Brian Goodrich. Is that correct? Here tonight.
Correct.
All right. And with that, we want to move into our agenda. So first we have Paulina Salgado from TriMet. And Paulina, I'm sorry, will you pronounce your name so I say it correctly? Is it Paulina or Paulina?
Paulina.
Paulina, okay. And were you able to get your Zoom working? If not, Mark is going to help you with a presentation to share the screen. Is that?
I'm trying to share, but it says only the host can share in this meeting.
Okay, so we'll make you a co-host really quick. There you go. You should be able to share.
Sure. Are you able to see? Are you able to see?
Not yet.
I did send your presentation to Mark, who's very technically adept and will share screen for you if that is helpful.
Yeah, that might be helpful. I'm sorry. I don't know why it's not letting me.
That's okay.
And is everyone able to see the screen?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And just when Paulina, when you're ready to move, just say next slide.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Mark. As Valerie mentioned, my name is Paulina Salgado, and I work at TriMet. I'm a community affairs representative, and I'm working on the Park Avenue Garage Expansion Project. Next slide, please. As you might know, the Park Garage Avenue is located at 2735 Southeast Park Avenue, Milwaukee, 97222. And currently there are 401 parking spaces. There's two electric vehicle charging stations. The parking garage is 24-hour limit. We have the bike and ride, and this parking garage connects to the Max Orange line, the 33 and the 99 Macadam and McLaughlin. Next slide, please. So what is the Park Avenue Garage Expansion Project? So TriMet is proposing to expand the Park Avenue Garage by adding 2 levels. This expansion will accommodate more parking, making it easier and more convenient for riders to access transit. Originally, the garage was intended to have 5 floors, but unfortunately, due to funding constraints, 2 floors were deferred. So now we got some funding and we're coming back to finish what we intended to do in the very beginning. Next slide, please. So we are super early on the project right now. The RFP went out earlier this year. The award contract should be coming up within the next week or two. So we should know who is going to be working with us as our contractor. The construction is likely to start in the spring of summer of 2024, and it's gonna last for about a year. So it will be down spring, summer 2024. And all of this is subject to change depending on many, many things. But one of my goals is to, of course, keep the community very informed of all the changes of everything that is going on with the project. And I told Valerie this presentation was going to be super small because we're just so early in the project, but I just wanted to bring it up and make the community aware of it. But I'm more than happy to come back when we have more specific information and let everybody know where we are in the project. Like I said, outreach is going to start this spring pretty soon. And this is my information. I put my name, my title, my cell phone number, and my email in case that anybody has any questions. Feel free to reach out to me. My role as community affairs coordinator is to make sure that I let the community know what's going on with the garage. When we start construction, make sure that, of course, with enough time, letting people know we're going to start the construction of the garage this date, is going to last for this long. We're going to have, maybe some inconvenience about access to the garage. So my role is just to make sure that everybody feels like they know what is going on. And I think I saw a question that said if the current garage was 2 or 3 floors, and right now it's 3 floors. So we want to put 2 more floors in the garage to make it 5 floors. Next slide, please. And if anybody has any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Maybe we could stop sharing then, and so that we can take some questions. And I'm sorry, I couldn't tell whose hand went up first, but Eleanor, you're unmuted, so why don't you go ahead and go?
Ha, Anita, haha. Yes, Paulina, you mentioned that the parking garage was built, even though it only went up 3 stories, that it was built to handle a 5-story structure. And I remember that. Can you talk just a little bit more about that? Because I remember at the time that funding cut it down to 3 stories, but it was built with this intention to be able to build the additional 2 stories as was originally planned. So could you talk more about that? Thanks.
Yeah, of course. So there is the structure of the garage itself. It's ready to be able to hold the 5 storage. So it's not like it's only 3 and we're like making some changes to make it be able to have the 5 floors. No, the structure itself already has that foundation to be able to hold the 5 floors, because that was what we really wanted to do, but we just didn't have any funding to finish it.
Anita, and then after Anita, Rich, and then Jane.
Yeah, I was just wondering about the solar panels. Will you be adding more? Does it require more now to function?
We are going to be moving the solar panels from where they are. We're going to put them on the 5th floor. And I am not exactly sure if we're going to require more. We, like I mentioned, the RFP just went out. So we had different proposals and bids. So now we're trying to figure out who is going to be the person. And the way we're going to do it is the contractor itself, whoever we get, is going to be the design team. So they're going to design the project and they're going to build the project. But like I said, once I have more information and I know more about the design, I can definitely bring it and present to you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Jane?
I know that it's really early in the process, but I wonder if you have any clue about how much or when the structure might not be available for parking at all, or if they would have to limit dramatically what's going on? Or is that one of the things you're looking at when you pick a contractor?
Yes, most definitely. That was actually I sat in one of the review panels, and I just remembered that I sent a non-disclosure information about that. But yes, we review that. So at this point, we don't know how is it going to work, but we're hoping that there will be access. Maybe not throughout the whole garage, but there will be in some parts. But like I said, once we know it, I'll have more information. But I know for sure that we are going to be working with the Elks next door to see if we can borrow part of their parking garage, the parking
As has
space that
happened
they
in the
have.
past, yes.
Because we're going to, yeah, in the past, and we're going to need that. But yeah, as soon, I believe that within the next week or 2 weeks, we should have already our contractor. And then once, maybe I'm thinking we're in April, maybe at the end of summer, beginning of fall, I can come and back and present with more of a clear design of what we have, what we're going to do.
Rich?
Yes, I'm wondering if there's been any more recent studies that document what the need for parking is. You know, are we building sufficient, or are we building sufficient for years ago?
That's I know that the pre-pandemic, I know that the numbers there, we needed more space in there. As everybody might know, a lot of the ridership number for TriMet went down during the pandemic, but it's starting to pick up. Previously to working on this project, I work on the Division Transit project on Division Street. And we know that overall the numbers for TriMet are picking up. So we are building the garage based on that notion that the numbers are going up for ridership.
Baldwin?
Yeah, before the pandemic, when I wanted to go downtown, I would go past the parking garage and it was full. And also the Elks Lodge parking lot was absolutely full. So I couldn't take Max. Since the pandemic, I've driven past the parking garage many times, and the Elks parking lot is empty. The parking garage, the top floor is empty. So do we really need 2 more floors? I've always been in favor of 2 more floors, but my God, there's hardly anybody taking Max these days.
TriMet is working really hard with different marketing campaigns to bring back ridership into the system. We definitely took a hit during the pandemic, but we are hoping that we're going to get back those numbers. And even if we start this project, the parking garage won't be ready until 2025. So by that year, we're really expecting that the numbers will go up and that those different floors will be necessary.
And can I add another question, which is,
yeah,
TriMet sends me email every day, multiple times, about operator shortage, and so your train is going to be 15 minutes late or a half an hour, or there's a police activity or a medical activity, and it just sounds very discouraging. The number of times per week that something is happening on the Max, not just in our area, but also downtown, which affects what we have out here. And something needs to happen there. I would be afraid to take Max today.
I live, like I mentioned, I live in Milwaukee, so I take the Orange Line to our office, which is downtown. And I agree with you that sometimes there's some activities that it feels kind of sketchy, but we really encourage riders that if you see anything, call this. We have a safety number. If you don't feel safe calling a number, you can always text or customer service. I feel like overall, TriMet is very aware of what is going on with our city right now, and not just Milwaukee, but especially in Portland. and we are trying to work something out so that to make sure that people feel safe. But it takes a lot of manpower, and I know that we are launching a campaign to have more people writing the maxes to make sure that they're able to let people know that if they need to get out or not of the max, if they're not, if not that they didn't pay, but if they're doing something they shouldn't be doing.
Okay, thank you.
Mark?
Yes, my question is if there's going to be an extension, extension of the electric vehicle spaces, that you're going to expand the number of spaces available for electric vehicles.
I don't have the answer to that question, but I will write it down, and as soon as I have it, I can definitely bring it back to you. Yeah, once we have more of the design, there's not design right now, just like the overall idea, and we're just looking at the proposals that we got from the different companies. But I will definitely write down that question and let you know.
So I'm gonna throw in a question. I see the garage from my house, from my second floor. So 2 extra stories sounds difficult. I'm going to put it that way. And I was spent a couple of years on the Orange Line Citizens Advisory Committee. So what I'm hearing you say is that you're here to tell us that the design is going to happen and you're going to come back and let us know how that goes. What citizen input are you planning to have into that?
As far as input, I'm here more to inform the community, and I don't believe that, because it's something so, I believe that when it comes time to do maybe some of the logistics of the project, like for example, I'm trying to answer correctly. We will always communicate and you could always voice your opinion, but I'm not going to tell you 100% we're going to take it, right? We have to go with what the contractor is going to design and what's going to work for the garage.
So maybe, Paulina, I would be okay if I contact you after this meeting, because I have some questions about that. And having been on the committee, there were options that were taken, when there was not enough funding. One of them was to cut the number of floors, and that was something people agreed on. And there were other options that didn't go for it. So this sounds like it has been decided by TriMet without community input. So I'm going to contact you after this, because we're a little bit over time. And thank you for being here and for being willing to answer questions. Bob, do you have a quick question before we move on?
I do. Actually, it's like 3, but they're fairly quick. Where's the funding for this coming from? Number 1. Number 2, this building or this parking structure was designed originally for the additional floors. Why would we go back and have the new contractor you're getting ready to hire go in and do a design? That should be on the shelf, already paid for, ready to go. And when the Orange Line was completed, they scaled back the 2 floors because of supposed budget cuts, when in fact TriMet ended up with a very large surplus when the project was over. And it wasn't like 50 or 60 million. I'd had an internal source within TriMet, and I know it was circulated through TriMet. It was between 150 and 180 million budget surplus on building the Orange Line. So I'm wondering why we had to initially kill those 2 floors, why we're now going to re-engineer them since we already have a plan for it, and what happened to the money.
So we are getting the money from, we got a grant, so that's where the money is coming from. And the original plan was for the 5 floors. And I'm sorry, you said so the original plan was for 5 floors. And then because due to funding, we were not able to finish the project. Yes, there is the original plan that was 5, we still have that, but because time has passed, we wanted to, I guess, how can I say it without saying, I saw it in this meeting, right, for the bidding, and I signed a non-disclosure about things that I cannot say yet about the project. So it's hard to answer some of those questions. But I will be more than happy to come back once I have all the information and answer some of those questions for you.
Right. Thank you, Paulina. I'm glad you're here. And as you can tell, there's a lot of interest and concerns about issues related to this. So we thank you for being here. So we're going to move on now. And Officer Sarah McClurg is here with us from the Sheriff's Department. And I believe you have the ability to share screen.
Okay, great. Yeah, I wanted to do a couple of things tonight, understanding that time is a little bit limited, so I'll try to be sensitive to that. But I wanted to let people know that we do have a way for people to check on calls for service, statistics and crimes that are reported in your area now when you go online to our site. So I wanted to show you that. Zoom works really great for this, for doing a demonstration. Our analysts spent a lot of time putting this together. I think there's a lot more left as far as development, so it may not be 100% intuitive yet, but we are getting there. So let me see if I can share screen successfully. Okay, are you seeing my screen?
It says Zoom.
Okay, yeah, I've got to get down to the right thing here. Let's see, what did I do with it? There we go. So if you go to the Clackamas County Sheriff's Office website, you can just do that by Googling. This is our landing page. And so there are a lot of different options for you to check out here. You can check on things with regards to our jail and corrections. PSTC is our public safety training center. There are some other things that you can look at too, as far as getting involved with the sheriff's office, et cetera. And then just some ideas of how to report crimes, when it's appropriate to send a tip versus actually reporting something. But down here, if you keep going down to the bottom part of the page, there's a button that has been added just in the last year, and that goes to our dashboard. And that will take you to our stats, if I can make it work. Come on, there we go. So I assume everybody here hopefully has heard about the Enhanced Law Enforcement District, the ELED. If you have not, it's a special tax district in the urban growth areas that had agreed, quite some time ago, to pay a little extra in tax in order to have more coverage in their areas. So you are definitely within the ELED. So you can check things out on this button, since it is germane to your area. I find it's actually easier to go to the unincorporated Clackamas County button. I'll just show you this part really, really briefly for the ELED. Just to show you the difference. So this right now is tracking all calls for service in the ELED district since the very beginning of this year through the end of March. So we aren't reflecting April quite yet. So this is just raw numbers that you are seeing here. If you look at the bottom or the left side of the page, you'll see the type of calls that have been reported. And there's just a pull down bar if you want to get to more detail. And then there's this map right here. All of those little buttons represent places where there have been calls for service. And so if you scroll over it, you'll see that the buttons will reflect anywhere from 1 to maybe a couple of dozen calls, depending upon where it is. 82nd Avenue, for instance, would have several in the same general vicinity. I find that this is really cumbersome to look at if you're trying to find something for your own neighborhood. You can try playing around with it. I don't want to take up too much time tonight, but what I think personally is a lot more intuitive and easy to look at is the unincorporated Clackamas County button. So first of all, I want to point out there's a distinction between call activity versus reported crimes. Call activity is every time a deputy responds to a call or someone from the sheriff's office gives you a call, all of that is recorded. Reported crimes will be events where we actually have taken a crime report. It doesn't necessarily mean that those will be successfully prosecuted. It's just the first step in hopefully getting to prosecution. But what I found was a lot easier, and I've got to find you here. I think you're way up here. Okay. So you have a portion of the map right here that is going to be a template basically for the Oak Grove Community Council land area. So if you just simply click on that, it is only going to reflect calls for service or reported crimes specifically for your area. So then you can get a much better idea of exactly what kinds of things are happening in your general vicinity. Of course, this is very raw numbers. It doesn't give any detail whatsoever. It's just giving you an idea of what kinds of criminal activity or other events might be occurring in your area. And of course, they'll be on a declining kind of, so all of these will be, the most like crimes or calls, and then we'll go down to the least reported or the least calls from the top. So of course, because you have McLaughlin in your area, traffic stops are going to be a big one for us. And then thefts are going to be pretty much across the board. Theft is always going to be probably in almost every single area of our county. That's going to be the #1 crime that most people are experiencing. And then you can see the numbers for yourself on the declining scale here. I don't know if you noticed, but some of this is in light gray and some of it is, I don't know, kind of a darker green. This represents the light gray self-initiated calls by deputies. The darker green are calls for service that come in as a consequence of people calling those things in to bring them to our attention. Also, if you care to, you can find call activity by day of the week, an hour of the day. And if you are not particularly interested in seeing since the numbers since the beginning of the year, or perhaps before your next meeting, you just want to look at maybe the last month, that can be done. There are a couple things you can do. You can click on these bars here, but I think it's a little bit easier to click right here. You can go back to 2022 and before. But for instance, if all you wanted to look at was the month of March for your area, you could do that. And so that would just be by clicking alone on that particular button. And then you would have just March data. So I just wanted to bring that up to you because I know that this has been on our website for almost a year now, but a lot of people are not using it just because they're unaware of it. So I am going to stop sharing at this point. And does anybody have any questions about that particular data? Oops, it looks like there are a couple things in chat. Oh, there's a link to this on the Oak Grove COP website. I see. Awesome. Okay, great. So that's really great, good to know too. So there are a couple different ways you can get there. The other thing I wanted to go over briefly was what kinds of crimes we're seeing right now in your area as well as throughout our county. Since COVID began, we have seen a slight uptick in a few different kinds of crimes. Primarily, some of our property crimes seem to have gone up a little bit. I don't want people to be alarmist, but it's not, a huge jump, but it is a little bit higher in some areas. So car break-ins is one that we've definitely been tracking as something that's been growing all over our county. And generally speaking, that one is a fairly easy one to protect yourself from simply by religiously either parking in your garage if you have room in there, like I do not, but especially locking your car doors. And also making sure that anything that has any perceived value is removed out of sight as well. Most of our thieves that break into cars do not bother breaking windows. Once in a while, we'll get somebody who will, but that's very uncommon. And why is that? It's because all they have to do is walk down the street a little ways. They will find a car. I mean, the first 10 may be locked. The 11th one is probably not going to be locked. And so they just want the, the least barrier, the easy hit. That's what they're looking for. At this time of year, one of the things that we see go missing that is really alarming for people who have been victimized is sometimes people will be carrying their tax paperwork with them because they've got an appointment with their accountant or something. And we have had people who've had cars broken into expressly looking for tax paperwork or registration in order to commit a crime of identity theft. And that is one crime that is really, really difficult to recover from and difficult to handle. Other things that we have seen an increase in are stolen vehicles. We used to be able to identify that most of the time our stolen vehicles were going to be older vehicles. Toyotas and Hondas were very, very popular older vehicles to take. On an increasing basis, we're seeing more late model cars being taken. Motorcycles are being stolen at an increasing rate right now. In our rural communities, we definitely are seeing ATVs and tractors and things of that nature being taken on an increasing basis. Again, locking your car is really, really helpful. One of the things that I've invested in that I highly recommend that you consider if your car is going to be parked in a public area like at the mall or just out on the street. Those are vulnerable areas where we do see cars stolen. But one of the investments that you can make that's fairly inexpensive is a GPS tracker. I believe the ones I bought for my husband and myself were $22.95 online. You just, excuse me, allergy season. So you can just download an app and then affix it to the metal part of the car, hopefully something way out of sight. And we have had some really excellent results when people have reported their cars being stolen and have been able to identify where that car has shown up. And those darn things are really accurate, very much so. We have been able to identify not just the general area, but quite often we can see it like within 50 feet of where it actually is sitting. So that's a very good thing to do to protect yourself, just in case your vehicle goes missing. And you do want to report your cars when they're stolen right away, because some of these vehicles, I think some people might be familiar with some of the things that have been going on in Portland, where they actually have chop shops. So a lot of these cars are being dismantled so that they can sell the parts. We also have some chop shops right here in Clackamas County. Most of them are in more rural settings where there's a lot of acreage and it's hard to get eyes on site. And so we can't really see what's going on. So yeah, if you notice that your car is stolen, call it in immediately. That's a 911 call, in my opinion, because the faster we get on that, the more chance it is that we're going to get that recovered. Also, mail and package theft is something that we have seen slightly increasing over time. Package theft in particular certainly has been a problem. I love to shop online because it's so convenient for me. I'm kind of busy. So if I have 15 minutes at work and I can get some Christmas shopping done, that's great for me. But I know that there's a risk when I do that. I do always make sure that there's an alert that's coming to my phone so I know when those packages are showing up. And I do have a neighbor who can grab stuff for me. But also I never, ever order something that is over, say, $125 of value. Just because I don't want to suffer that kind of loss. Other things that we are definitely seeing are shoplifting. I think that this is affecting a lot of our stores on 82nd Avenue. Certainly our mall has been hit very, very hard. As a law enforcement agency, we're really trying to put our efforts behind that because that hits us all in the pocketbook. We know that. We also don't want it to become a situation where those stores start closing simply because there's too much loss. So we are making a concentrated effort to actually use some resources. We're doing one tomorrow. I can't say where it is, but we put together detectives and deputies, and they focus on one area, maybe one store, maybe one mall, and they will have sometimes 15, 20 people waiting for the shoplifters to come so that they could basically saturate the area and try and hold those people accountable as much as possible. As we come into spring and the weather is getting better finally, just a quick reminder that one of the areas that's very, very popular for our burglars is not necessarily the inside a residential structure, but those outbuildings and garages, especially in the spring, because we all are trying to access all of our tools at this time of year. And it's quite routine for some people to leave that garage door wide open and unattended while they're doing work in the backyard and so forth. We have some very opportunistic people who will actually walk right into a garage. Quite often also neighbors will be working all day very hard on their yard and will accidentally leave their shed door open or their garage doors completely open. And for that reason, we definitely do not want people to leave those areas unattended. What people are taking from those areas primarily is tools. Tools are one of the easiest things for people who have an addiction problem to sell. They can sell it today. I would guarantee you that if you walk into a pawn shop, most of our local pawn shops are going to have a whole wall of hand tools. And I can guarantee probably at least 95% of those were stolen. It's a good idea to try and record serial numbers for tools and other things that might attract a thief. And if you do have something stolen and you've got those serial numbers and can provide that to law enforcement, that's our best chance of getting it back in your hands, because that does get loaded into a national database. And so if those things turn up somewhere, sometimes we recover stuff because we do a bust. There are some pawn shops and other agencies that actually are trying to do the right thing and watch for stolen items and actually hold on to them and report them to us. So that's just a tip for you with regards to that. Where am I doing? How am I doing on time? I think I have 5 more minutes. So the last thing I just wanted to talk about really quickly is a project that's near and dear to my heart, and it started in your area. I don't know how many of you remember that there was a problem house on Southeast Risley near Oak Grove Boulevard. That particular house that was just full of drug users and thieves and burglars was a major problem to us. It was a situation that had gotten way, way, way out of whack. All we could do as a law enforcement agency was just keep arresting people. The neighbors were upset because they'd call us, we would arrest somebody, and then 2 days later, they're back on the street. That's very frustrating, and it wasn't solving the problem at all. And their frustration level was incredibly high. We had SWAT visit there twice looking for dangerous people that had outstanding warrants for their arrest. So we finally sat down with the DA's office, with code enforcement, with other agencies, county council and others, H3S, and decided, let's look at this not from a silo, let's look at this from a more comprehensive angle and see what all of us can bring as far as tools in our tool belt to try and fix this and really, really take care of it. And that model worked so well that we are still doing it. At this point, we have almost 200 properties that we fixed. So we're very, very proud of that. It is one of the best projects. I just love this project. And it seems like we get one taken care of. We got one that finally, after meeting with the community members and sharing information and having them call in all the suspicious activities that are going on and everything that's happened, the main player at that place got 5 years in prison, and the rest of the folks that are there are being evicted as of next Friday. So we're finally getting that one taken care of. And unfortunately, 2 weeks ago, I heard from another community that has a property that's almost exactly like that one. So here we go again. But the tools that we have are really helping us expedite this kind of scenario and try and fix these properties as quickly as possible. If you ever have a problem house in a neighborhood, your neighborhood, feel free to reach out to me because I do try to administer for the program and make suggestions of properties that we really should be paying attention to. All we can do is look at the call history. And if the calls are not necessarily reflecting what's going on, which sometimes is the case, because either people get sick of calling, they're afraid of retribution, so they don't call in the first place, you know, or there are just a lot of different reasons that people might not be calling and being proactive. But sometimes there are significant issues that we need to be advised of. And I'll tell you, our community members know what's going on in their neighborhoods. They know who's there. They know who the troublemakers are. They know what the kind of activity is that's happening far better than we do. So I encourage anybody who might be experiencing that kind of problem property to please reach out to us so we can take a look at it and see if we can put our team on it, because we love working this stuff. So I've been doing all the talking. I think I'm right about at, okay, I've got it looks like I'm close to the time that you wanted me to be finished with our presentation, but does anybody have any comments or questions?
We did have one comment come in the, or question come in about catalytic converters. And is that theft in our neighborhood? And what's going on?
Yes. Actually, specifically in your area, I'm just trying to think of the folks that have been most significantly affected are some of the more industrial sites where they have big trucks and things like that. And I can think of a couple. I don't want to divulge too much about who's really been hit, but there are a couple of companies that have large trucks, and the bigger the catalytic converter, I guess the more value it has. And so yes, we definitely have seen it. We have seen it with individual homes as well. It's a tough one to get our arms around it and really solve it, but we definitely, I wish that we could do a better job of it. About the best thing that some of the industrial companies are doing is going to the expense of having actually kind of this metal housing put around the catalytic converter, which makes it not impossible to get at, but really, really difficult. And so most of those get passed over, but it's expensive to replace those things and incredibly inconvenient. But mostly it's happening with the businesses, not necessarily so much residential, although on occasion we have seen it.
Thank you. Eleanor, you had a question?
Yeah, thanks. Hi, Sarah. It's lovely to see you.
Hi, good to see you.
Thank you for all the great stuff you do for this community. It's been lovely working with you through the years. And I have a couple of comments about one of the newer businesses down in the little downtown Oak Grove area. And Heidi, I'm glad that you're on this call as well. I know that two people have sent emails have been forwarded onto the sanitary district. The people saw them pouring green paint directly into the street drain, as well as bleach water. So those emails were sent to someone and they forwarded them on to the sanitary district. So there's that, and that businesses also doesn't have garbage service and is piling all of their garbage in a trailer in that little it's kind of like a car storage unit between the building where the Trolley Trail Tavern, where Vinyl Tap used to be, and the like apartment building next to New Urban High School. So back in there, I went by and took a picture of it today. It wasn't that hot this morning at 11:30, but it stunk badly. And people are saying they're seeing a lot of rats. No surprise. So what can we as community members do to help our local businesses, because we want them to be here and to thrive, but there's also sanitation and, paint down the drain just ain't gonna work for me. That just really burns my biscuits. So do you have ideas about what we as citizens can do to help?
Yeah, sure. I mean, with regards to the trash, I would definitely reach out to code enforcement to see if they can launch an investigation. If it's, I'm not an expert in code enforcement, but I do sit in on a lot of meetings with them. And so, you know, if it gets to the point where they call it putrescible waste, which is basically
Ooh.
smelly and icky,
Yeah,
then they can address that. They might even be able to take a look at the green paint situation, but I don't know for sure
I got printed.
if they could. But yeah, I would definitely reach out to code enforcement. If you're not getting a response really quickly, they are backed up like crazy, like all of us are. You know, again, I feel, you know, badly that people have to wait, you know, for these things to be solved sometimes. But again, if you want to reach out to me directly and say, hey, I reached out to code enforcement 3 weeks ago, I haven't heard back, let me know, because I've got friends over there.
You'll be the bad cop, right? Okay, you'll be the bad cop.
Yeah.
And my understanding with code enforcement is that it often, I think it's at least 2 different people have to call in the same violation. Or
if it's anonymous. My understanding is if you want to make that complaint anonymously, then it has to be 2 people minimum.
That's fair. That's fair. Okay. And then a second question. Sorry, everybody. There are 2 cars that are parked permanently, I think is not an exaggeration, on Oak Grove Boulevard.
Yeah, yep. But okay, I've heard from Anne.
Yeah, I can send you a picture, you know, but
we've got photos, and I do have good news is I have actually one deputy who is really taking this to heart.
Great, because I'm part of the Oak Grove Festival, and those vehicles were there last year, and it's really unfair to the vendors who pay money to have those booths and then have a vehicle like right up against it. Anyway, so just knowing these are these petty little things in the community that make a difference for how, I mean, rats are another thing. That's not petty.
That's not good.
There's a lot of rats around here, but not
Deputy Hatton reached out to me actually this week and said that I'm all over it. If you hear more about it, let me know. And I'm like, okay, cool. It's great to have one deputy who's really focused on it.
Yeah. And Deputy Hatton was the name? Hatton?
Hatton, Hattan.
Great. Again, Sarah, thank you so much. Thank you.
Absolutely. It looks like Heidi had her hand up.
Yeah, I was just going to chime in, Eleanor. I think if you read the code enforcement closely, or the anonymous complaint or whatever, you can still file anonymous if you can demonstrate, read it closely, but something like environmental concerns or discharging to, so you can actually get attention, especially if you can demonstrate it could be an environmental hazard.
Right, exactly. I would say paint down a drain is, and again, I did not see it. It was 2 people did see it and sent emails. And does it make sense for those emails not only to be forwarded? I know they've been forwarded to the sanitary district, but to also have them forwarded on to code enforcement.
Yeah, attach it as part of your complaint. Yeah.
Okay, lovely. Thank you, Heidi.
Photos are absolutely great. So
thanks. Thanks, Sarah. Okay, bye-bye. Thanks.
Well, we have take up any more time, Valerie. So
well, we took up a little of your time. So are there any other questions for Officer McClure while she's here? If not, thank you, Sarah. We really appreciate your willingness to come.
Go home. My husband has dinner waiting for me, but thank you.
What
so
a good
much for
idea.
me. Yeah, he could. So I'm going to go home and have a nice dinner, but thank you all. I really appreciate it. I'm going to go ahead and put my direct email. I know a lot of you have it already, but before I sign off, I'll put it in the chat.
Great. Thank you again. All right, we're moving on, and I'm going to ask Vanessa Dane-Slagle to come on.
Hi. Oh, I almost got there. Thought I had a video going. Is that working? Okay, sound and video?
There you are. Yes.
Okay, good. So I'm Vanessa Dane-Slagle. Like I mentioned earlier, I live about 3/4 of a mile from the Oak Grove Fred Meyer off of Southeast Hill Road. And the reason that I'm speaking today is to try to get, or hoping to get some additional support to prioritize a bike/pedestrian lane from View Acres Elementary down to Southeast Oatfield. In case you're not sure where Southeast Hill Road is, it's the road that connects Southeast Oatfield and Southeast Thiessen together. It's about a 1-mile road, and it contains View Acres Elementary, Scopos Christian School, an assisted nursing facility, and multiple residences. So really what I'm just starting to do is do some information gathering and trying to find out what the next steps are to try to get a bike lane prioritized with the county. I spoke with Valerie. She came and visited Hill Road and saw that there are parts of it that are really unsafe to walk and bike on between View Acres and Oatfield because of the lack of the bike lane. A lot of times you would have to either be walking in the street or on unstable ground. So I met with her. I also spoke with a gentleman named Troy Johnson, who is the traffic engineer technician. And he told me that they are going to be reducing the speed from 30 to 25. So that was really great news. Unfortunately, Hill Road is not a funded project that's planned for improvements at this time. He did connect me with Scott Holscher, who is the transportation and development engineer, who informed me that there's a program called Walk/Bike Clackamas Plan. It's a long vision plan to improve walking and biking in the county. And so I don't know if Hill Road is a part of that as far as priorities wise. After doing a little bit of research, it looked like there might have been a survey put out. And a lot of people made some really good points about areas that need sidewalks added and bike lanes added and safe places for kiddos to walk. Like Southeast Oakfield would be great if it had a sidewalk down the entire way. So I guess I'm just right now trying to find anybody who could potentially help me walk my neighborhood and find out if this is even a priority to the neighbors that live in my community, or if it could be a priority for your organization, to see if I could get some additional support, because right now it's just me, and it'd be nice to be able to have other people talking with the county and letting them know there are people in this area who care about the safety of walking on Hill Road.
I just like to add, I enjoyed meeting Vanessa and walking on Hill Road, and it's actually like the shoulders of the road that are not clear. It is, people's property runs right over the top of it. And it was very interesting to walk on there. It's kind of frightful, let's say like that, if you were going to walk, because there really isn't any place to walk. Lucky for us, Joseph Edge is here and he can help with some information. Joseph, are you available to, Joseph is on the bike pedestrian committee.
Great.
Thanks, Valerie. I've been having some technical difficulties tonight, so please bear with me, and I may even just turn off my video to make this a little bit easier on all of you. So I am a member of the Pedestrian Bikeway Advisory Committee. I'm also representing that committee on the Walk Bike Clackamas Plan Advisory Committee. And we have experience, doing this kind of thing. We've had some successes here recently, in the last several years, where we have had some projects prioritized, specifically Jennings Avenue between McLaughlin and Oatfield is funded and actually going to bid this year for sidewalks on one side of the street, and I think bike lanes along its length. And then Courtney Avenue was more recently awarded a grant through Metro to recreate Courtney between River Road and McLaughlin Boulevard. And so that will be a full street reconstruction with bike lanes, sidewalks on both sides, and stormwater improvements. And the process for that is really that these projects have to start in the transportation system plan. The Walk Bike Clackamas Plan is an opportunity to try to get projects into the transportation system plan. Once there, they are a candidate for finding funding. And sometimes funds come up unexpectedly, such as the funding that occurred or that we were able to secure for Courtney. We didn't know that was coming up. That was a program that suddenly there was some money available. Metro announced a grant period, grant application period. And Scott Holscher with Clackamas County was very proactive about that, and pulled together some ideas, had to act very quickly. And so it's not like there's a lot of opportunity for public input, but he was able to bring some candidate projects to the Pedestrian Bikeway Advisory Committee and get our feedback on, and we ultimately prioritized Courtney, out of, the different candidate projects throughout the whole unincorporated part of Clackamas County in the metro area. Courtney was our priority. So, and I'm the only person from Oak Grove that's on that committee. So, everybody, there's other people that recognize the need here. So that's basically what I would kind of recommend we try. I mean, I realize that, it's you don't know when surprise money becomes available, but sometimes it's scheduled money, and it's just a matter of saying, hey, there's an interest here. There's a need here, and part of what secured Courtney, part of what earned the attention for Courtney was that there's a school there, there's apartments there, there's you know what I mean? There's it scores high in Clackamas County's equity index. There's different factors that kind of play into it, and so we can certainly do our best. And what I would recommend that you do is come to the next Pedestrian Bikeway Advisory Committee meeting, which should be on May 2nd at Tuesday, May 2nd at 6:30 p.m. And we can. I'll make sure that I reach out to you. I'll get your contact information from Valerie. I'll reach out to you and make sure that you know what you need to know to attend that meeting. And there's a public comment period at the very beginning of every one of those meetings. And I just suggest that you raise your hand and say what you said here. And it is it may be maybe the 90-second to 3-minute version, but nonetheless, give voice to your concerns, announce that this is a priority for you and your neighbors, and mention the schools, mention connecting to Oakfield, mention all of that, and then when there's an opportunity or when it makes sense, then we can come back to the community council here and say, hey, there's an opportunity to advocate for a Hill Road project. And then we can, our letter would be more meaningful at that point rather than just out of the blue. So that's my recommendation. And I'm happy to have a discussion with you offline to, kind of talk about this a little bit more if you'd like.
Yeah, great. Thanks so much.
Anything else you'd like to add, Vanessa? I just want to say I appreciate your taking the time to come and bring this up. I think everybody is concerned about the safety of our roads, and we're aware that density has just increased. And if anybody hasn't walked Hill Road recently, I recommend it. It's quite an interesting experience. Don't do it in the dark.
No.
Anyway, all right.
No, that was all. Thank you for your time.
All right. Joseph, do you have more information for us tonight?
I do. Thank you. I will share my screen and hope that this goes well, because again, I'm having technical difficulties today, but I've actually got pictures. So I'd like to share that with everybody. Okay, hopefully everyone can see that. Very cool. So let's click my way through here really quick. So we're just going to go through basically the applications we've received this year. Will be a kind of a quick review of the activity that we've seen, for the first few months this year. So up first, we do have a partition in the habitat conservation area and water quality resource area for around River Forest Creek, and there was a partition there to add a flag lot on Fair Oaks. And we also had a middle housing land division on Courtney Lane, which is right by the trolley trail. And so we'll take a look at these. The decisions for these were issued earlier this month. So a lot of words, but ultimately it means we're going to get a new flag lot here. This is Fair Oaks. Oak Grove Boulevard is just to the north, and Anspatch here connects over to Laurie, just over to the east, just to give you some perspective. It has obviously in the back where the creek is, there's a forested area. And as proposed, the flag lot will be able to allow the construction of one new dwelling without, or one new residential structure without impacting any of the buffer for the creek. And so that's what this is ultimately going to look like. And again, that was already approved earlier this month. The next one on Courtney Lane, this is a middle housing land division. This is the first of these that we have seen. And so the proposal is for a quadplex on a in the R8.5 zone, which is around 8,500 square feet minimum average lot size. And we'll take a look at the picture here for context. Again, we've got the trolley trail. Here's Courtney Avenue. We were just talking about that. Courtney Lane is a little private street right here. You can see it right there, Courtney Lane, that serves a couple or serves some dwellings on either side of the street. And I believe that one of these is a duplex. You can see for site context that we're in an area with an apartment complex across the street, with an apartment complex next door. This has been here for a very long time, actually predates our zoning. We talked about this a year ago, that there's a low density residential zone, but we have an apartment complex there. And so, our zoning is all kind of just a suggestion at this point, I think. Anyway, the proposal is to click ahead. The proposal here is to create 4 new lots for row houses, and these will be separately owned lots, and so they will end up being ownership lots. This is all consistent with a lot of the regulations that were passed by the state within the last couple of years. So this is on an expedited approval process. It has been appealed by a neighbor, but it meets all of the criteria, and the decision, which will be approval, was required by the 18th of May. Bob, I see that your hand went up. Did you have a question about this one?
Yeah, looking, because once again, I'm watching on my phone, and so the picture's not really tremendously good. Are they? Is that where that historic house is, right there next to the school?
Yeah.
Because there's a house, and then another one they put in, and then the old structure that's been there for 1,000,000 years is on that, the closest to the school. So are they taking that house down in order to do this?
No, this is an undeveloped lot that's part of that original lot.
That little section.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I was just wondering because I know that Schmier many years ago talked about that being some kind of a historic structure of some sort or another. So
it may still be designated. It may be a designated historic landmark. I'm not sure. But yeah, the original structure is still there.
It's going to remain. Okay.
Yep.
I didn't really care either way. I just was kind of concerned that, what happened to all that, if that's what they were doing. So never mind.
Nope, not this time. So let's see, we've got a few new ones that have come in as well. I'm not going to spend too much time talking about the 2 related to the Concord school site and the library, because we've had a presentation from them recently about those. The public hearing for the conditional use application is on May 18th at 9:30 a.m. And I'll have we'll make sure to share information in our follow-up email about how to participate in that if you're interested in doing so. And then the design review part for the library building, that application is incomplete and still pending at this point. So we'll share that with you when we get the final version of that. The one that I will show you is on Chloe Rose Way, which is a new street in a new subdivision for an application that we looked at 5 years ago. Actually, I remember presenting on this one to you at Rose Villa auditorium. And so this is ultimately what they're doing here is there's a planned unit development so that about a third of the site will be protected as forested open space, and then the rest of the site will be developed with residential lots. And the approval on the subdivision expired, and so they have to go through the process again, which is very expensive and unfortunate for them, but they're just really seeking to reapprove the subdivision that had already been approved several years ago. So that's all this one is. There is if you do want to submit testimony on it, the public hearing is on May 4th at 9:30 a.m. And this is the link to the hearings officer webpage if you want to attend the hearing virtually. We'll put this in our follow-up email, just like we will with the one for the Concord site. Or you can email Ben Blessing and reference Z0088-23 in the subject and leave your comments with the planner. So just a few other new ones that I'm going to cover very quickly. On River Forest Road at 1404, there's a partition to add 2 new lots. And here's what that site looks like. And the context is that it's on River Forest Road, a few hundred feet from River Road, at the bottom of the hill just south of Oak Grove Boulevard. And it's a heavily forested site. And ultimately they're looking at, I know this is really hard to see, but they're creating new lots for a couple new residential structures and preserving the original structure on a lot. The comment period for that closed April 11th, so we're just waiting for the decision at this point. A new one came in last week for a partition of a site at the very south end of Woodland Way. And so this is a dead end. And also that happens to be back there is River Forest Creek in the North Fork, River Forest Creek. And this is also proposing to subdivide just to create 1 new lot. And it also is able to create sufficient development area without impacting the habitat conservation area or water quality buffers for the creek. The comment period for this one closes on May 1st, but it really does seem to meet all of the relevant criteria and doesn't propose to impact the habitat areas at all. So I don't think that it warrants our attention or comments at this point. And so I don't have any motions prepared for adding any comments to the record for this one. And then we have another one pending for a new single residential structure on Nafe Road, just to the lot that's just west of 3411. I'll show you guys where that is. And so this is between River Road and the trolley trail on the north side of the street. And right now it's just an open, undeveloped field. And it looks like the very eastern portion of that is proposed to be developed with a residential structure, and it will need to go jump through some hoops to protect the creek that's in the area. And so we're still waiting to see that application, and the comment period is pending. That's all I have for everybody. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Joseph. I think that was a lot. And you, as always, you'll do it quite thoroughly. I see that Eleanor just put her hand up. You have
Just
go ahead.
a quick question, Joseph. That last lot on Neff Road, how do you know the size of that lot or an acreage of that? Because that looks like a nice, big, fat, substantial lot. And just wondering about, if it's zoned R10 or R5 or R8 or whatever. So it just looks like a larger lot than usual. I mean, it's certainly not a flag lot, so.
Right, yeah, this is an undeveloped lot. I don't know offhand. What I can do is I'll look it up and put the answer in the chat for you.
Oh, thank you so much, Joseph.
Sure thing.
Thank you.
Jane, your hand is up. Jane, did you?
Yeah, I didn't want to disturb Joseph while he's looking something up, but regarding that same lot, is that the lot where there is a home that has what looks like a business, like a nursery business along
Yeah,
the north side. There are greenhouses of some form there.
yeah, they're up there.
Okay.
Oh, right. Yeah, I think maybe. I'm not sure. I don't, it's hard to tell. It's hard to distinguish where these two lots. I don't know if you can see my cursor or not.
Yes, yes.
It's hard to distinguish where one ends and the other begins, I think, when you're just looking at it on the street.
Well, you know, yeah, but it would be just a few hundred yards in, maybe 200 yards back. But it, like Eleanor said, it is a very, very large lot. And it's interesting they'd be dividing to put something right in the middle of it. And then what happens to the rest of that lot on the corner of River and Neff?
Yeah, I don't think the bigger lot is part of any plan right now. Well, at least not what's being proposed.
Sure.
They're proposing one new residential structure on this undeveloped lot. And the only reason that we found out about it is because there's a construction management plan that's required because of the stream that's nearby.
I see.
Baldwin will know. Baldwin will know. It's right across the street from him.
Yeah, that's
It is
right.
across the street from Baldwin, yeah.
Yeah, this is Baldwin Vanderbilt. I've lived across the street from that lot for 44 years. This is a total surprise to me, and it is a big piece of land. It's at least an acre.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I'm flabbergasted.
There we have it. But Joseph, that wasn't my question. My question had to do with your first one on Fair Oaks Avenue and the flag lot that was going to be put down. When you showed the diagram for it, it just seemed as if the flag lot, the drive going in, was really, really like skinny and up against the house. That's okay with, I guess the fire department doesn't need to get back in there. And is that on the top side of the diagram where the drive would be going back to parcel 2?
Yes. Now, it's funny you should mention that, Jane, because they needed a variance to get that that approved.
I see, because I see there's some existing trees and then this narrow lot almost butting up against the home.
Right.
And that just seemed, and I know for a fact that there is a creek down in the back there behind them.
Right.
So there you have it. Okay.
Yep. Yeah, they needed a variance because that's that's normally not a wide enough driveway to meet the standards.
Aha. Okay.
Bob, your hand is still up. Did you have another question or is that just still up?
Well, it must still be up. I didn't have a question. Sorry.
And Jane, yours.
Oh, hand down, hand down. Okay, well done.
Well, thank you, Joseph.
Yep. Thank you.
All right. I see Heidi Bullock is here with the Oak Lodge Water Services Authority. Heidi, did you have a quick update for us?
Yeah, just very quick, and you can also get this information from Mark. It's just more informational. The budget committee has convened and we have been meeting, and we're working on approving or adopting a budget for this upcoming fiscal year for the Oak Lodge Water Services. We have one more budget meeting, a committee meeting tomorrow night, and there will be a vote to approve a budget from the committee, and the committee is comprised of the 5 board members and 5 citizens, and Mark is one of the committee members as well, is one of the 5. So pending, that will require a majority vote, so 51% for a budget to select. And then on May 16th is the next board meeting, and that is when the budget, there'll be an opportunity for public comment and the budget would be adopted. And then another opportunity, and then from that budget adoption, we will have a rate hearing on any potential rate increases in June. June 20th, there will be a rate hearing and decision at that board meeting. And then the rates will be in effect starting in July 1st, if and when there's a rate increase. So I just wanted to highlight some of those dates for you all, and they are also on the Oak Lodge Water Services website. So you will see those meetings, and so you're welcome to attend either virtually or in person.
Thank you, Heidi. Seeing Heidi reminds me that there's an upcoming election in May, and that the positions on the Oak Lodge Water Services authority, it's an authority, are on the candidates like Heidi and others, and also school board candidates and other things of importance. And since that election is happening before we meet again, it's our civic duty to remind everybody that good citizens vote. So I just, that was my
Please vote.
public service announcement. How's that?
Yes, thank you, Valerie. It's perfect.
Committee reports. Eleanor, is there an HDOG report this evening?
Kind of a mild one. HDOG is working hard on the festival, and my understanding is Mark is going to give us a more of an update on those specific things. Just kind of wanting to get rid of those junky cars and get the garbage cleared up and all those kind of things. So nothing in particular right now. I am blanking. There's a board meeting tomorrow, and the next general meeting will be the third Wednesday of June, I believe it is.
Okay.
That's about it. So the fest is July 15th. If you want to have a booth, it's on our website, and great things are happening. So hope to see you all there.
Thanks, Eleanor. Mark, do you want to do an upgrade for the Oak Grove Festival?
Certainly. Thank you, Valerie. Thanks, Eleanor. So the festival is moving along well as far as our organizing committee. Things I can report out to everyone is that we continue to be successful in having local businesses who are sponsors of the festival. More than half of the expenses of the festival are paid for by our sponsors, and we rely on our sponsors in order to keep our vendor fees down low. And we're keeping those low so that we can encourage participation of local artisans and artists and entrepreneurs so that they can participate in this without a lot of expense for them. Right now, we have three major sponsors, and I wanted to acknowledge those. Oak Lodge Water Services is one of our first sponsors. They always have been, and we're always very grateful to them. We also have the Embold, which used to be called the Clackamas Federal Credit Union, which is now called Embold CCU. They are a continuing supporter of the festival as well. And we have a new supporter sponsor this year. The Milwaukee Community Center Foundation has provided a very large contribution to the center this year. I've been reaching out to other businesses within the area, and this is an ongoing thing that we work on to encourage our local businesses to support us. As far as our vendors, we're doing very well in having vendors. I think right now we have 59 vendor applications out. There are probably more since the last report out. And we have extended the size of the festival this year all the way from Rupert Avenue at the Methodist Church all the way to River Road. So the application is into the county for that road closure, I expect will go through without any issue. And so we'll have an extended length of the festival this year, which will allow us to have more vendors in addition to an expanded classic car show, which will occur right at McQueen's. So I think things are moving very well. Please put on your calendar Saturday, July 15th to attend. It'll start at 11 o'clock in the morning and go till 4 in the afternoon. Last year, we had over 5,000 people who attended, and we're expecting to have more than that this year. So if anyone has any questions, I'll be happy to answer them, and we'll give you more information on the next month.
Well, wait, Mark, you didn't mention the beer garden and the additional food trucks are going to happen and all the food stuff that's going to be up by the church for the kids of like cotton candy and snow cones and hot dogs and all that stuff. So
that's right. Yes. Yep. A lot, but we're trying to make improvements every year. And so there will be a beer garden this year. We have a bicycle group that is going to be, has a out of Portland and Milwaukee that are planning an actual bicycle event with perhaps as many as a few hundred bicyclists who will be arriving. We will have just a lot of more new activities every year. We're just trying to improve it, make it more fun and enjoyable to all the members of the community here.
Thank you,
Okay,
Mark.
thanks, Eleanor.
Speaking of sponsorship, last year, the Oak Grove Community Council helped sponsor the festival with a $500 donation. And we have been asked once again if we would like to make that kind of a commitment to support the Oak Grove Festival. It seems like the Oak Grove Community Council would like to support the Oak Grove Festival, but do I hear a motion from the floor?
I'll make a motion that the members of the Oak Grove Community Council urge and support the board of the Community Council in making a donation of $500 to the Oak Grove Festival.
I will second that motion, Valerie.
It's been moved and seconded. And Jane, as the treasurer, will you let us know the balance that we have available for
1,800?
Well, we have the $1,886, so we would still have $1,386 in the bank with this donation.
Is there any discussion about this?
I would just say that we may need some funds to provide some other enhancement or attraction for the booth that will be the Oak Grove Community Council booth at the fair, but that might be minimal. It won't be a lot of money. Something the board can take care of.
Joseph, your hand is up.
Thank you, Valerie. Just like I did last year, I will personally make a $100 donation to the Oak Grove Community Council to help offset the funds that we will be contributing to the trolley trail or the Oak Grove Festival this year. And I encourage others to consider doing the same.
Thank you, Joseph.
Thank you,
Is there any discussion about this motion that's on the floor? Is there let's see, how do we do this? Is there anyone that opposes the Oak Grove Community Council supporting the Oak Grove Festival with $500 donation? Okay. In the absence of anyone opposing that, it passes unanimously. So I think that we can get that sent right away. Thank you for your work on this, everyone that's working on it.
Thank you, everyone.
Joseph, is there a report from the Oak Lodge Governance Project or any updates that you would like to give to us?
We are still hard at it, and I would like to make sure that everyone knows we will be at the Oak Grove Festival with a booth again this year, and we are actually looking. Two. We will be on a double booth this year again, and we are looking for volunteers who might like to help staff our booth for us this year. I think everybody's looking for some extra volunteer support this year, and we're part of that group as well. So if you'd like to talk to your neighbors about governance options and what things are going on with the county and in the area, and what the future might hold for this area, then let us know. Send an email to Eleanor. Could you please state the email address for me?
If I remembered it, I would love to. Let me see now. It's oaklodgegovernanceproject.org. So I think it's
the Gmail address.
The Gmail address. Oh, hang on. Keep talking amongst yourselves. I'll look it up.
Oaklodgegovernanceproject.org is the website. You can certainly visit there and find out what our contact information is, and send an email and let us know if you are interested in doing that. When Eleanor figures it out, we'll put it in the chat.
It's oaklodgegovernance@gmail.com.
Perfect.
Thank you.
I knew it was a little bit shorter than the full thing. So
Oak Lodge Governance, one whole long word, @gmail.com.
Awesome. Thanks, Eleanor.
Yep.
Thanks, Valerie.
And I'm going to add that Oak Grove, as Jane indicated, the Oak Grove Community Council will have a couple of booths at the festival as well. And we will also be looking for people who are interested in helping to staff those booths. So just let us know, contact at oakgrovecpo.org, and we will put you on. I think that these two booths will be fairly close together. So if you're interested, you can wander back and forth. I'd like to just take a moment and see if there is any comments or public input, people that would have anything they would like to say for the community council tonight that have not had that opportunity. Any interest in anything that you're welcome to let us know if you have interests that you would like to see covered at our meetings. Are there any announcements tonight?
Valerie, I just wanted for the sake of attendance, ask Jacob Fuller one more time if he was able to let us know where he resides, if in Oak Grove.
Yeah, I did announce this a few meetings back. Am I going to be doing this every meeting?
Well,
Probably
we often do, yeah.
I'm on Rupert Drive here in Oak Grove.
Thank you, Joseph. Okay, thanks, Jacob.
Annika, you have an announcement?
Well, it's it's an announcement and a report about NCPRD.
Okay, good.
If it's the right time.
Yes.
Because right now it is the time for the Park District representative selection for the District Advisory Committee. And there are 4-year terms that are staggered. So only 2 of the 4 unincorporated areas have openings. And 1 opening is in sub-area 2, which most of Oak Grove is in sub-area 2. Some of it is in sub-area 1. But I'm planning to stay involved with NCPRD matters, but not as a DAC member. So I'm not running again, and my spot is open. Until 2 years ago, DAC candidates were chosen by the county, but now the bylaws have been revised so that community members ourselves select DAC candidates. And to support this, there are going to be 2 public meetings each year in the unincorporated areas. And the meetings are to give information to the residents and also to get input from residents about what y'all want from the Parks District going forward. This year, the first meeting will be a hybrid meeting on the evening of May 17th. And the second hybrid meeting will be on June 7th. And the second meeting includes DAC candidates introducing themselves and then residents voting for whom they want. So if you have any questions or you want to know how to apply, I can tell you that part, or I can just put a link in the chat of one of the steps you would take, which would be to fill out a form with the county. Even though most of the process is something that we manage, there's still some interface with the county and filling out a form. So I can put the link in the chat, and if anybody has any questions, I'll take those now.
Greg, did you have a question for Anita or a separate issue?
I was just going to make a comment, an update for you.
Okay, so are there questions for Anita before we switch topics? And Anita, I'm sorry I didn't call on you for NCPRD and back before we moved on. So thank you for stepping in.
Sure.
Okay. Craig, did you have an announcement? Or
Sure. Yeah. Thank you, Valerie. It's nice to be back in attendance tonight. I've missed a few months of meetings for some personal reasons. But I want to give you a quick update on the crosswalk conversation that we had months ago now. I did touch base with the county a couple weeks ago. They have assured me that they've secured the grant funding for the crosswalk. It's going between 2 different departments for signatures, then to procurement to go out to bid, and knock on wood, they think they should be able to develop a crosswalk. I'm thinking early fall at this point. So long time coming, but we're going to get a crosswalk.
then you'll throw a crosswalk party or something.
Absolutely. We'll shut the street down and have a party. I'm
Mark.
kidding.
Mark, did you have your hands up? Yeah.
Yes, just one quick announcement for those of you who do visit the Milwaukee Community Center, which is also the location for our Meals on Wheels program here locally. They are having a fundraiser coming up on May the 6th, I believe it is. And it is called an Italian dinner, a wine and dine. And that is, if I got that correct, I want to make sure I got the date. Yes, May 6th. And I encourage folks to consider going there to help with the Meals on Wheels program. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Okay. And I want our community to know that the board is actively working on procuring a space that will allow us to go to hybrid meetings. Our goal has been June, and we're working on that, but we will keep you updated. But know that it would be preferable for many people to be able to meet in person, and at the same time there are other people for whom the online meetings work really well. So we want to go to a hybrid meeting, and we are working on that, and as soon as we have things to share, we will share them with you. Our next meeting in May will feature Gary Marshke from NAMI, which is the Clackamas County chapter of the National Alliance on Mental Illness. That will be on May the 24th. Are there any other announcements or comments for the good of the order tonight before we close? If not, then I will say that the meeting is adjourned, and thank you all for your attendance this evening. We'll stop recording. Here we go.